Si Elena Villarreal Montenegro ang founder at controlling owner ng Casa Aurelia. Isang kilalang Filipino fine dining restaurant group na itinayo niya kasama ang kanyang inang si Chef Aurelia Villarreal. Ang asawa niyang si Sebastian Montenegro ay CEO ng Montenegro Prestige Holdings at may maliit na non-controlling interest lamang sa restaurant group. Dahil siya ang mas madalas humarap sa media at nagdala ng maraming hotel clients. Nagsimula siyang maniwalang kontrolado na niya ang Casa Aurelia. Habang nakikipagrelasyon sa brand director na si Vanessa Soriano. Naghanda si Sebastian ng isang VIP dinner upang ipakilala ang mistress bilang bagong creative director at ihayag ang di umano'y pagsasama ng restaurant chain sa kaniyang kumpanya. Hindi niya alam na walang anumang merger ang maaaring mangyari nang walang pirma ni Lena. Ang babaeng pinalabas sa sarili niyang restaurant. 3 linggo bago ang VIP dinner. Personal na nag-book si Lena ng Aurelia Room para sa 2 magkaibang dahilan. Una, kailangan niyang makipagpulong sa board representatives, kitchen auditors at general manager tungkol sa biglang pagtaas ng food costs at pagkawala ng ilang matagal ng local suppliers. Ikalawa, iyon ang araw ng kapanganakan ng kanyang yumaong ina. Bawat taon, dinadala ni Lena si Sofia sa Casa Aurelia upang kainin ang paboritong dessert ni Chef Aurelia, burnt calamansi custard na may muscovado crust. Hindi enggrande ang kanilang paggunita. Walang reporters. Walang flowers mula sa luxury event company. Isang tahimik na hapunan lamang sa silid na ipinangalan sa babaeng nagturo kay Lena na ang mahusay na restaurant ay hindi nasusukat sa presyo ng plato, kundi sa paraan ng pagtrato sa taong naghahatid nito. Ang reservation ay ginawa sa ilalim ng pangalan, Elena Villarreal Montenegro Owners Heritage Meeting. May kasamang notes. Board review at 6:30 p.m. Supplier audit. Heritage menu tasting. Table for Lena and Sofia. At request na wag alisin ang frame portrait ni Chef Aurelia mula sa silid. Ngunit 2 araw bago ang dinner, binuksan ni Isa Flores ang VIP reservation system at napansin niyang nawawala ang pangalan ni Lena. Sa parehong time slot, lumitaw ang bagong entry. Vanessa Soriano. Birthday and Strategic Acquisition Dinner. Sa remarks section ay nakalagay, Owner's Guest. Highest Priority. Aurelia Room Exclusive Use. Nagtaka si Isa. Hindi niya kilala si Vanessa bilang owner's guest. Alam niyang si Lena ang tunay na owner at si Mateo ang may final approval sa heritage rooms. Binuksan niya ang change history. Ang reservation ni Lena ay mano-manong kinansela gamit ang administrator credentials ni Rico Sandoval. Lumapit siya sa procurement director habang nasa service corridor ito. Sir Rico. Mrs. Montenegro's reservation was removed. I know. Manager Mateo approved the original booking. He is not handling tonight's event. But the room is protected under the heritage policy. Policies change. Who authorized the change? Rico looked at her. Mr. Sebastian Montenegro? He is not listed as the room owner. He is the CEO of Montenegro Prestige. Casa Aurelia is not part of Montenegro Prestige. Rico's expression hardened. You are a VIP server, not a corporate lawyer. I only need to know which reservation to follow. You will follow the one currently in the system. Isa held the printed confirmation she had made before the change. What should I do with this? Destroy it. She did not move. Did you hear me? Yes. Sir? But she folded the paper and slipped it inside her uniform pocket. Sa bahay. Hindi sinabi ni Sebastian kay Lena ang tungkol sa event. Matagal na silang magkahiwalay ng bedroom ngunit hindi pa legal na divorced. Sa media, tinatawag niyang private marital transition ang kanilang sitwasyon. Sa katotohanan, ginagamit niya ang katahimikan ni Lena upang unti-unting ipakilala si Vanessa bilang babaeng nasa tabi niya. Nang gabing bago ang dinner, umuwi siya ng huli at nakitang naghahanda si Lena ng leather folder. "Are you going somewhere tomorrow?" tanong niya. "To Casa Aurelia." He paused. "For what?" "A board review." "There is no Casa Aurelia board meeting tomorrow. There is one under Villarreal Culinary Group. You should have coordinated with my office." "Why?" "Montenegro Prestige is preparing a major hospitality announcement. About Casa Aurelia. About strategic integration. There is no approved integration. Damien says the trust representatives are prepared to proceed." "Prepared to review is not the same as approve." Sebastian loosened his tie. "You always hide behind technical language. And you always call ownership a technicality when it does not belong to you." He looked at her folder. "Do not interfere with tomorrow's event. I booked Aurelia room 3 weeks ago. It has been reassigned." "By whom?" "By management. Mateo would not reassign it without calling me. Perhaps management finally understands that high-value investors matter more than private family rituals." Lena stared at him. "You know why I booked that room?" "Yes. Your mother's birthday. And you still moved the reservation. It is one room." "Lena, it is the room named after her. Sentiment cannot control business forever." He walked away before she could answer. Mula sa hallway, narinig ni Sofia ang usapan. Kinagabihan, pumasok ito sa kwarto ng ina. "Mom, are we still going tomorrow?" "Yes." "Will Dad be there?" "Apparently." "Will he eat with us?" Lena did not lie. "No." Sofia looked down. "Then we can still order Lola Aurelia's dessert." "Yes." The child nodded. "That is enough." Ngunit para kay Lena, hindi sapat iyon. Hindi na lamang reservation ang usapin. May taong gumagamit ng pangalan ng ina niya upang gawin ang kabaligtaran ng lahat ng pinaniniwalaan nito. Pagsapit ng gabi ng event, puno ng luxury cars ang driveway ng Casa Aurelia Manila sa BGC. May floral arches sa entrance. May media wall na may Minga logo, NJ Montenegro Prestige. Soriano Prestige Events at Casa Aurelia. Sa gitna ng signage ay litrato ni Vanessa. Sa ilalim nito, "A new woman, a new vision, a new Casa Aurelia." Huminto si Lena sa harap ng poster. "Ma'am," sabi ni Sofia, "why is Aunt Vanessa's picture beside Lola's restaurant name?" Hindi alam ni Lena kung paano ipaliliwanag sa anak na ginagamit ng sariling ama nito ang restaurant ng pamilya upang ipakita sa publiko ang kaniyang mistress. Because someone approved the wrong poster. "Will you remove it?" "Not before we know who approved it." Pagpasok nila sa lobby, agad silang nakita ni Isa. Nawala ang kulay sa mukha ng young server. "Mrs. Montenegro." "Good evening, Isa. You came for the Aurelia room." "Yes." Isa glanced toward Rico, who was speaking to security near the entrance. "Ma'am, your reservation was changed." "How did you know?" "Sebastian mentioned it." Isa reached inside her pocket. "I kept the original confirmation." Bago niya mailabas iyon, mabilis na lumapit si Rico. "Isa, return to the VIP floor." "Yes, sir." "Now." Umalis siya ngunit hindi itinapon ang paper. Rico faced Lena. "Mrs. Montenegro, we have prepared a table in the main dining area. I reserved Aurelia room. There was a scheduling conflict. I was not informed by restaurant management. Tonight's event has strategic priority. Under whose authority? Mr. Montenegros. Sebastian does not control heritage room policy? Rico smiled slightly. The corporate structure is changing. Has the Villarreal board signed anything? That information is confidential. From the controlling owner. His smile disappeared. Bago pa siya makasagot, bumukas ang Aurelia room. Lumabas si Vanessa kasama si Clarissa Soriano at dalawang photographers. Naka-red evening gown si Vanessa at may hawak na champagne glass. Nang makita niya si Lena at Sofia, nagkunwari siyang nagulat. Oh, I did not know you were invited. I was not invited. Sagot ni Lena. I reserved this room. Vanessa looked at Rico. I was told the room was cleared. It was. Sabi nito. Lena glanced inside. Ang dating portrait ni Chef Aurelia sa main wall ay tinanggal. Sa lugar nito ay may malaking framed photograph ni Vanessa sa chef-inspired couture dress. Sa ilalim nito, Vanessa Soriano, Creative Future of Casa Aurelia. Nanigas ang mukha ni Lena. Where is my mother's portrait? Vanessa took a sip of champagne. The old photograph made the room look dated. Where is it? Storage. Perhaps. Rico answered quickly. It was removed temporarily for the event. Put it back. Vanessa laughed. You cannot enter someone else's party and redesign the room. This room was named after my mother. And tonight it is part of a business presentation? To change its name. Clarissa stepped forward holding an event tablet. We are testing the title Vanessa Grand Salon for future hotel partnerships. Sophia looked at her mother. Mom, can they change Lola's name? No. Vanessa heard her. Children should not be part of corporate discussions. Lena moved slightly in front of her daughter. Then do not use a child's grandmother as decoration for your announcement. Sa sandaling iyon, dumating si Sebastian mula sa elevator kasama ang CFO na si Damian Cruz at 3 investors. Nakasuot siya ng black tuxedo. Nang makita niya si Lena, halatang nainis siya. I told you not to interfere. I am here for my reservation and board meeting. The meeting can be rescheduled. The audit cannot. Tonight is important. So was my mother. Sebastian glanced toward the investors. Aware that they were listening. Do not create a scene. I am asking why my confirmed reservation was deleted and my mother's portrait removed. Vanessa moved beside him. Sebastian, the guests are waiting. He looked at Lena's simple dress, then at the elegant event behind him. This room is reserved for investors and strategic partners. I am the controlling owner of the restaurant group. Not tonight. The words came out before he could stop them. Lena's expression changed. Not tonight. You know what I mean. No. Explain it. He lowered his voice. You are here without an official role in the event. You did not contribute to the acquisition presentation. You are not part of the new management plan. There is no new management plan without my approval. Damian has the trust restructuring documents. Draft documents. The board will sign. Not if the information is false. Sebastian's patience disappeared. Lena, stop embarrassing yourself. Vanessa placed one hand on his arm. Perhaps she cannot accept that Casa Aurelia needs someone modern. Lena looked at her. Someone modern enough to replace a founder's portrait with her own. At least I am willing to stand in front of the brand. And you believe visibility creates ownership. It creates relevance. Sebastian turned toward the security guards. Escort Lena and Sofia to the main dining area. If she refuses, ask them to leave. Sophia gripped her mother's hand. Dad, this is Lola's room. He avoided looking directly at her. This is an adult matter. You told security to remove Mom. Sophia, because Aunt Vanessa wants the room. Vanessa's smile disappeared. Sebastian looked at Lena. Take her home. I am not leaving. Then I will have security remove you. Rico gestured to the guard. Isa watched from the service station, terrified. She reached for the printed reservation in her pocket. Before the guards could move, the private elevator doors opened. Mateo Reyes stepped out with Executive Chef Tomas Aguilar, Attorney Beatriz Villarreal, and 2 members of the Villarreal Culinary Group Audit Committee. Mateo's eyes immediately found Lena. He walked toward her, ignoring Sebastian. Madam Owner, he said with a respectful bow. We apologize for the delay. The board, culinary audit team, and supplier representatives are waiting. Walang nagsalita sa lobby. One of the investors whispered, Owner. Mateo turned towards Sophia. Miss Sophia. We also prepared Chef Aurelia's calamansi custard as requested. The child smiled despite the tension. Thank you, Tito Mateo. Sebastian stepped forward. Mateo, I already reassigned the room. You did not have authority to do so. I am a strategic shareholder and hotel partner. You hold a 5% non-controlling interest through Montenegro Prestige. That agreement is being expanded. No expansion has been approved. Damian interrupted. The trust representatives have agreed in principle. Attorney Beatriz opened her leather folder. The trust authorized preliminary discussions. It did not approve a sale, merger, management transfer, or creative director appointment. Sebastian looked at the documents in her hand. Why was I told otherwise? Beatriz glanced at Damian. That is a question for the person who prepared your summary. Vanessa crossed her arms. This dinner has already begun. You cannot remove us. Lena finally looked toward Mateo. Who canceled my reservation? Administrator credentials assigned to Mr. Rico Sandoval. Every eye turned toward Rico. He tried to remain calm. It was an operational decision based on the CEO's instructions. Which CEO? Tanong ni Mateo. Mr. Montenegro is not the CEO of Casa Aurelia. Sebastian's face tightened. You work with my hotels. We work under a commercial partnership. You would not have half these clients without me. That may be debated in the boardroom. Sagot ni Mateo. But client access does not transfer ownership of the restaurant. Isa step forward. Ma'am, I kept the original confirmation. She handed Lena the printed reservation. Beside, it was the system change log she had secretly copied. Rico looked at her with anger. You were instructed to destroy that. I was instructed to destroy a valid owner reservation. You are suspended. No. Sabi ni Mateo. Only the general manager or HR committee may suspend her. Lena looked at Isa. Thank you for preserving it. Vanessa laughed nervously. All this over one room. Lena turned toward the open doors of Aurelia room. Inside, the investors were seated around a table decorated with flowers, expensive wine, and gold place cards. At the head seat was Vanessa's name. Near it was a stack of documents bearing the Casa Aurelia logo. Lena walked past Sebastian and entered. No one stopped her. She picked up the top folder. The title read, Strategic Integration and Brand Leadership Agreement. The parties listed were Montenegro Prestige Holdings, Soriano Prestige Events, Soriano Table Concepts, and Casa Aurelia Culinary Group. Sa signature page ay naroon ang pirma ni Sebastian. Naroon din ang pirma ni Damian. May placeholder para sa Villarreal Culinary Group approval. Wala ang pirma ni Lena. Ngunit sa executive appointment section ay may pangalan na. Proposed Creative Director and Brand Beneficiary Vanessa Soriano. Lina read the line once. Then again, hindi lamang nila inagaw ang reservation. Plano nilang gamitin ang Aurelia Room upang ipakilala si Vanessa bilang taong may karapatan sa buong brand. Sa likod niya, nagsalita si Sebastian. It is a proposal. You were going to announce it tonight? To create investor confidence. Before obtaining owner approval, the trust will agree once it sees the value. You plan to use public pressure to force the signature. This is how major transactions work. No. Sagot ni Lena. This is how people make an incomplete transaction look finished. Vanessa entered the room. I was promised the creative director role by someone who could not grant it. Sebastian brought Casa Aurelia into the luxury market. He helped expand our hotel partnerships. Without him, this would still be a small family restaurant. Lina looked toward the open kitchen, where employees had stopped working to listen. My mother built the first kitchen. I developed the expansion system. Our chefs created the menus. Our staff maintained the service. She turned back to Vanessa. A client pipeline does not make you the owner of the people who serve it. Sebastian stepped beside her. Do not humiliate Vanessa in front of investors. You ordered security to remove your wife and daughter from her own restaurant. I did not know the reservation was valid. You did not check. Rico said it had been cancelled. You preferred the answer that gave Vanessa the room. I was protecting the event. And I am protecting the restaurant. Lina closed the agreement. She did not tear it. She did not throw wine. She did not order anyone removed. Instead, she handed the file to Attorney Beatrice. Preserve every version, signature, and attachment. Beatrice nodded. Already initiated. Matthew, restore the original reservation record. Yes, Madam Owner. Return my mother's portrait to the wall. It is being brought from secured storage. Isa, no employee will face retaliation for preserving records. Tears appeared in the young server's eyes. Thank you, ma'am. Lina then looked at Sebastian and Vanessa. The dinner may continue. Vanessa blinked. You are allowing us to stay as guests under standard restaurant rules. This is my birthday event. It was billed as a strategic acquisition event using corporate funds. Sebastian's expression darkened. You are auditing the dinner. I was scheduled to audit procurement tonight. You planned this. I planned a board review before I knew you had taken the room. Mateo approached Lina quietly. Madam, the audit committee found additional vendor files. Several food contracts were redirected to Soriano-linked companies. She looked toward Enrico Soriano's name on the supplier presentation. Then the meeting begins now. Sebastian stepped in front of her. You cannot take over my investor dinner. Lena met his eyes. This was never your room. She pointed toward the agreement. And Casa Aurelia was never your company. Sa hallway, the portrait of Chef Aurelia was being carried back by two careful employees. Sophia stood beside it and touched the frame. Welcome back, Lola, she whispered. Inside the VIP room, Lina opened the final page of the integration proposal. At the bottom, Beside Vanessa's proposed title was another clause. Brand participation, creative control rights, and beneficiary fees to be activated upon public announcement, subject to later owner ratification. They intended to announce the deal first. Ask for consent later. Lena placed the document on the table. Tonight, no one signs anything. The investors exchanged worried looks. Damien reached for the folder. You cannot suspend negotiations without board review. I am the controlling chairwoman and trust protector. She looked directly at him. The board review is exactly why I came. Pagkatapos ay humarap siya kay Sebastian. 3 weeks ago, I reserved this room to investigate unusual costs. Her eyes moved toward Vanessa's name printed beneath the Casa Aurelia logo. Thank you for gathering everyone connected to them in one place. Ang hapunan na binayaran gamit ang pera ng kumpanya. Sa loob ng Aurelia Room, isa-isang inalis ng mga waiter ang mga champagne glass at gift boxes mula sa gitna ng mahabang mesa. Hindi ipinahinto ni Lena ang serbisyo. Hindi rin niya pinauwi ang mga investors. Sa halip, iniutos niyang manatili ang lahat ng dokumento, pagkain, supplier labels, at billing records sa eksaktong kalagayan ng mga iyon. Nothing leaves this room, sabi niya. Not the contracts, not the menus, not even the floral invoices. Vanessa crossed her arms. This is still my birthday dinner. Lena looked at the gold place cards bearing Vanessa's initials. A birthday dinner does not require a strategic acquisition budget. Damien Cruz adjusted his tie. The event combined multiple corporate objectives. Then we will separate every objective and every peso. Sebastian stepped closer. Lena. The investors came to hear a growth plan, not watch a forensic audit. They came because you told them Casa Aurelia was entering Montenegro Prestige. That was the proposed direction. Then they deserved to know whether the proposal was lawful. One of the investors, Filipino-Chinese hotel developer Victor Lim, leaned back in his chair. I would prefer the ownership issue clarified before anyone asks us to commit capital. Another investor nodded. The confidence inside the room had changed. Minutes earlier, Sebastian had been the host. Now every person was looking toward Lena. Mateo placed 3 folders on the table. The audit committee requested these records before the event. Sabi niya, procurement, hospitality expenses, and proposed supplier transition. Attorney Beatrice opened the first folder. Sa front page ay nakalagay, Strategic Hospitality Acquisition Event Approved. Budget, PHP, 42. Ling ling ling. Ling ling ling. Lena looked at Sebastian. Did you approve this amount? Yes. For what? Investor relations, media, venue, international guests, and acquisition preparation. This venue belongs to Casa Aurelia. The event still has operating cost, 42 million pesos. Clarissa Soriano immediately answered. It was designed as a luxury hospitality launch with regional media reach. Beatrice turned the page. According to the expense schedule, Soriano Prestige Events received 17 million pesos. Clarissa smiled tightly. For full production management. Mateo glanced around the room. The flowers, lights, and media wall do not appear to justify 17 million. The price includes creative strategy, guest curation, influencer placement, and post-event distribution. Where are the influencer contracts? Tanong ni Lena. Clarissa opened her tablet. They are confidential. To the company paying for them. They are retained by our agency. Then the payment will remain frozen until the agency proves the service. Sebastian frowned. You cannot freeze payments from Montenegro Prestige. I can freeze Casa Aurelia reimbursements and deny brand participation. Damian interrupted. The event was booked under Montenegro Prestige. Then why does the internal description say acquisition event for Casa Aurelia? No one answered. Beatrice read the next line. 6 million pesos in proposed image and representation fees to Vanessa Soriano. Sebastian turned toward Vanessa. You told me you were not charging a personal fee. Vanessa's expression barely changed. I said I would not charge for the birthday appearance. What is the 6 million for? Creative director launch. Promotional content and future campaign usage. There is no approved creative director appointment. Sabi ni Lena. The fee activates after announcement. Sagot ni Clarissa. So the company was paying Vanessa before the owner approved her position. It was a conditional commercial arrangement. Conditional on public pressure? Vanessa looked at Sebastian. You knew I needed a proper ambassador agreement. I knew there would be a future contract. I did not know 6 million had already been allocated. Damian opened another document. It was included in the campaign annex. Sebastian stared at him. The annex you summarized for me. Yes. Did your summary mention Vanessa's fee? It described talent and creative costs. That is not the same thing. Damian remained calm. The full schedule was available for review. Lena watched Sebastian's face. The first crack had appeared, but she felt no satisfaction. He was beginning to understand that the people beside him had hidden details. That did not erase the fact that he had signed without asking the true owner. Beatriz moved to the supplier transition folder. The document proposed replacing 12 long-term Casa Aurelia suppliers within 60 days. Among those suppliers were a Batangas vegetable cooperative, a Quezon coconut producer, a Benguet mushroom farm, a family-run seafood supplier from Cavite, and a women-led cacao cooperative in Davao. The replacement company was Soriano Culinary Distribution Corporation. Beneficial owner, Enrico Soriano, Vanessa's older brother. Enrico stood near the wine display wearing a navy suit. This is a supply efficiency proposal, sabi niya. Lina looked at him. Your company has existed for 8 months. We are expanding quickly. You have no audited food safety history with Casa Aurelia. We work with international importers. Casa Aurelia's menus are built around local sourcing. Local sourcing is expensive and inconsistent. Executive Chef Tomas Aguilar stepped forward. Our current farms meet quality specifications. Enrico laughed. Juez, you are emotionally attached to suppliers. I am professionally responsible for ingredients. The new structure gives better margins. By replacing fresh local produce with frozen imports. Consistency matters. Quality matters more. Lena picked up the price comparison. The proposed tomatoes were 28% more expensive. The seafood was 34% more expensive. The mushrooms were nearly double the current contract price. Where are the savings? Tanong niya. Enrico pointed toward a column. Consolidated logistics and rebates. The rebates are paid to whom? Montenegro Prestige Purchasing Operations? Not Casa Aurelia. They benefit the integrated group. There is no integrated group. Enrico's confidence weakened. Rico Sandoval entered the room carrying another folder. The current suppliers have caused cost increases. Sabi niya, we needed alternatives. Mateo looked at him. The food cost reports came from your office. Yes. Then explain why the official kitchen receiving logs do not match your reports? Hiko Frozi. Executive Chef Tomas placed a stack of records beside Lena. The kitchen log actual quantities and prices. Procurement reported higher figures to management. Lena compared the documents. For 1 month, the kitchen had received seafood worth 6 million pesos. Rico's report showed 9 million. The vegetable purchases were inflated by 40%. Wine deliveries included labels never received by the restaurant. Some invoices referenced private events that did not exist. Sebastian picked up one of the reports. You told me Casa Aurelia's margins had collapsed. They were declining. Sagot ni Rico. Based on these figures, yes. These figures do not match the kitchen. There may be timing differences. For 6 consecutive months, Damian looked toward Rico. You should explain the reconciliation method. Rico answered quickly. The reports include future purchase commitments. Lena shook her head. Future commitments are not recorded as consumed food cost. It was a management presentation, not a statutory statement. You used it to justify a lower valuation for Casa Aurelia. Silence followed. Victor Lim turned toward Sebastian. What valuation were you presenting to investors? Damian answered before Sebastian could speak. 3.2 billion pesos for the operating group. Beatrice opened the independent valuation. The conservative third-party valuation is 5.8 billion. The investors looked at one another. Lena held up Rico's inflated reports. So someone increased expenses, reduced reported profit, and used the lower result to argue that Casa Aurelia should be acquired for nearly half its value. Enrico lifted both hands. I had nothing to do with valuation. Your company benefits after the acquisition? That does not make me part of the accounting. Your sister receives a creative role. Clarissa receives the event contract. Your supply company replaces our vendors. Vanessa receives brand fees. Lena's eyes moved across the Soriano siblings. This is not an independent transaction. Vanessa stood. You are trying to make my family sound criminal because Sebastian chose me. I am reading the contracts your family prepared. You are jealous. No. You walked in wearing a simple dress and suddenly needed everyone to remember you are the owner. Lena looked toward the portrait of Chef Aurelia that had finally been returned to the wall. I came dressed for dinner with my daughter. Not a press event. You knew we would be here. I learned yesterday. You still came. It was my confirmed reservation. Vanessa glanced toward the investors. She wants to turn a marital conflict into corporate drama. Victor Lim answered before Lena could. Miss Soriano, the ownership, valuation, and related party payments are corporate matters. Vanessa's face tightened. For the first time, the investors were no longer treating her as the future of Casa Aurelia. They were treating her as a related party who might benefit from a questionable deal. Isa entered quietly with a small envelope. Madam Owner, I found the reservation change printout and the instruction email. Rico stepped forward. You were told to leave the VIP floor? Mateo blocked him. She is delivering audit evidence. Isa handed the envelope to Lena. Inside was the original reservation confirmation, system change history, and an email from Rico. Remove Elena Villarreal Montenegro from the Aurelia room schedule. Replace with Vanessa Soriano. Do not contact Mateo. If the owner arrives, seat her in the general dining area and refer all questions to me. There was another message. Destroy printed copies of the original reservation. Sebastian Hedich. You knew Lena was the owner. Rico answered. Of course. And you still told staff there was no reservation. You instructed us to prioritize Vanessa's event. I told you to reassign the room. I did not tell you to falsify the record. The original reservation would have created confusion. It would have proved I had no authority to remove her. Rico remained silent. Lena looked at Isa. Why did you keep the copy? The young server swallowed. Because Chef Aurelia's rules are printed in our training manual. What rule? Never alter a guest record to protect someone's pride. Mateo smiled faintly. Lena remembered her mother writing that line many years ago after a politician demanded a waiting customer's table. You did the right thing. I was afraid. That does not make it less right. Will I lose my job? No. Rico scoffed. She violated direct instruction. She preserved a valid reservation and evidence of falsification. Sagot ni Beatrice. Any retaliation will become part of the investigation. Rico looked toward Sebastian for support. But Sebastian did not speak. The CEO who had ordered Lena removed was now seeing how his own instruction had been converted into a false record. Mateo opened the final folder. These are supplier communications preserved from the procurement system. One email came from Enrico to Rico. Increase the projected instability risk for the local farms. The board needs to believe current supply is unsustainable. Another. Once the integration is announced, terminate the old contracts immediately. Delays will weaken the margin plan. Rico replied. I will update the cost reports and classify several suppliers as high risk. Chef Tomas read the messages in disbelief. The Batangas Cooperative delivered every order this year. Rico answered. They have weather exposure. All farms have weather exposure. The new supplier offers consolidated insurance at double the price. Enrico stepped forward. The cost includes reliability. Lena looked at him. It also includes a 12% marketing rebate to Soriano Prestige events. Clarissa turned toward her brother. What? He avoided her eyes. Beatrice showed the rebate agreement. A portion of every supply payment would return to a related Soriano company as brand development support. Vanessa looked at Clarissa. Did you know about this? Not the exact percentage. So everyone had a fee except me. You had the image agreement. That was for my work. And this was for ours. Sebastian slammed one hand onto the table. Enough? The room fell quiet. He looked at Damien. How much of the 42 million benefits the Soriano family or related companies? Damien did not answer immediately. Directly and conditionally. Approximately 17 million. Approximately. Depending on activation of the creative agreement and supplier transition. And your fee? Damien's expression changed slightly. Lena noticed. What fee? Tanong ni Sebastian. Beatrice removed one final page. A 2.5 million peso strategic advisory payment to Cruz Capital Solutions. Sebastian stared at the name. That is your company. It is a consulting vehicle. You are the CFO of Montenegro Prestige. The work concerned acquisition structuring beyond my normal duties. You prepared an acquisition for your own employer and charged a separate fee. It required specialized work. Did you disclose it to the board? It was included in the transaction schedule. Not in your summary. Damien remained composed. You signed the approval. Sebastian stepped closer. You keep saying that. Because it is true. And you designed every annex. That is also my role. Lina watched them carefully. Damien was beginning to move the responsibility towards Sebastian. Not openly. Not yet. But every answer emphasized the CEO's signature. Beatrice received a message on her tablet. She showed it to Lena. Compliance recovered deleted communications from the event planning server. Lina read the first thread. Vanessa, Will, Sebastian sign before the investors arrive. Damien, he has signed the preliminary integration authority. Enrico, what if Lina refuses ratification? Clarissa, the public announcement makes refusal politically expensive. Vanessa, and if the Villarreal board investigates? Damien, every executive authorization is under Sebastian's name. Lena continued reading. Enrico, who controls the brand after closing? Damien, the intermediate holding company. Vanessa and Sebastian. Damien, he remains public chairman during transition. There was one final message from Vanessa. After Sebastian signs, he takes responsibility with the board and his wife. We keep the brand, the hotel contracts, and the profit. Lina did not immediately show it to him. She read it twice. Sebastian was not innocent. He intended to pressure her into accepting a merger. He had publicly humiliated her and given Vanessa the room named after her mother. But the people he trusted were also preparing to use his signature as a shield. Madam, tanong ni Mateo. Lina locked the tablet. Preserve the full thread? Sebastian looked toward her. What did you find? A reason not to let anyone leave with the original documents. Vanessa's face changed. Are you accusing us of something? I am preserving evidence. You have no right to seize private messages. They were recovered from corporate event systems tied to a related party transaction. Damien stood. This meeting should end until counsel is present. Beatrice smiled coldly. Counsel is present. I mean counsel for the other parties. They may call one? Clarissa reached for her tablet. The press release is scheduled in 20 minutes. Cancel it? Sabi ni Lena. We have already paid for distribution. Then document the cancellation. It will damage everyone's reputation. A false acquisition announcement would cause greater damage. Vanessa turned to Sebastian. Do something. He looked at the investors. The contracts and the preserved messages he had not yet seen. For the first time that evening, he did not immediately defend her. Cancel the press release? Sabi niya. Vanessa stared at him. You promised tonight would be mine. I promised an announcement based on a valid transaction. You knew Lina had not signed. I believed the trust would approve. And now you are letting her control everything again. She is the controlling owner. The words sounded difficult for him to say, but he said them. Vanessa's face became cold. You did not care about technical ownership when you threw her out of the room. Sebastian flinched. Lina did not interrupt. Sometimes the truth became clearest when the people involved spoke without her help. Isa moved toward the dining table and quietly replaced Vanessa's head seat card. She put the original card back. Elena Villarreal Montenegro, owner and chairwoman. Vanessa saw it. You think changing a place card changes who the guests came to see? Isa lowered her head but answered. No. Ma'am, I am restoring the confirmed reservation. Lina sat at the head of the table. Sofia took the chair beside her. Mateo placed Chef Aurelia's calamansi custard in front of the child. The room that had been prepared to celebrate Vanessa's rise was now hosting the audit Lena had scheduled from the beginning. She opened the supplier folder. Chef Thomas? Contact every remove local supplier. No contract is terminated until independent review. Yes. Madam Owner? Mateo. Preserve all CCTV from the lobby, VIP corridor and procurement office. Already in progress. Isa? Prepare a written statement about the reservation change. You may have counsel or an employee representative present. Yes. Ma'am? Beatrice? Freeze any Casa Aurelia payment connected to this event or proposed integration. I will issue the notices. Damian spoke. You cannot freeze Montenegro Prestige funds. I am not freezing your company's funds. Lena looked directly at him. I am preventing Casa Aurelia from reimbursing an event designed to pressure its owner into accepting an undervalued transaction. Sebastian slowly sat down at the opposite end of the table. What happens now? The full board reviews the transaction. And the investor presentation? It continues only as an investigation record. You plan to expose everyone tonight? No. She placed the recovered message thread face down before her. I planned to review food costs. Her eyes moved toward Rico. Damian, Enrico, Clarice and Vanessa. You turned a supplier audit into a map of every person trying to profit from Casa Aurelia. Vanessa pointed toward the tablet. What is in those messages? Lena looked at her. You already know. I want to see them. You will receive them through counsel. Sebastian leaned forward. Do they involve me? Yes. Am I accused? Your signatures are on the approvals. I ask whether they planned something without me? Lena held his gaze. You should ask Vanessa. He turned toward the mistress. What did you promise your family? Vanessa did not answer. Vanessa. She lifted her chin. We were protecting the transaction. From whom? From Lena's refusal. And from me? That depends on how much you were willing to understand. Sebastian's expression hardened. Lena finally slid the printed message across the table. He read the final line. After Sebastian signs, he takes responsibility with the board and his wife. We keep the brand, the hotel contracts, and the profit for several seconds. He did not move. Then he looked at Vanessa. You were going to leave every approval under my name. It was your acquisition? The intermediate company belonged to your family. It would have become part of the group. When? After closing? Who controlled it before closing? She remained silent. Who controlled it after closing? No answer. Sebastian looked toward Damian. You told me I would control Casa Aurelia through Montenegro Prestige. You would have chaired the integration. That is not ownership. Damian's voice stayed calm. Commercial control can be structured in several ways. You used that phrase because you knew the shares would not belong to me. The final structure had not been completed. Lena watched the same realization spread across Sebastian's face that she had experienced before entering the restaurant. Someone had treated him as a useful signature. The difference was that he had first tried to treat her ownership as an obstacle. He folded the message slowly. You all expected Lena to sue me. Vanessa answered. We expected resistance. And you expected me to carry responsibility. You were the CEO. You said we were building something together? We were... For your family? For us. There is no us in this structure. The investors remained silent. No one needed another presentation. The true transaction was already visible. A husband trying to use his company to take control of his wife's brand. A mistress trying to use the husband's signatures to benefit her family. A CFO collecting private fees. A procurement director inflating costs. And a restaurant whose reported weakness had been manufactured to justify selling it cheaply. Lena closed the folders. Tonight's negotiation is suspended. Damian objected. Only the full board can suspend the transaction. The transaction never received owner approval. It has preliminary executive authority. From an executive who does not own Casa Aurelia. She turned toward the investors. Any capital commitment made on the belief that Montenegro Prestige controls Casa Aurelia should be considered withdrawn until verified records are provided. Victor Lim nodded. That is reasonable. The others agreed. Sebastian looked at the empty presentation screen. The event he had planned as proof of his power had collapsed before the official announcement. But Lena knew the most difficult part had not yet begun. The next evening, Clarissa had scheduled a larger gala with media, hotel partners, and regional distributors. The false press materials were already prepared. Vanessa's photograph had already replaced Lena's mother in several promotional files. And Damian still possessed a simplified ownership diagram designed to make Montenegro Prestige appear in control. Lena looked toward Mateo. Do not cancel tomorrow's gala. Sebastian stared at her. You just suspended the transaction. I did. Then why let the gala proceed? Because everyone who received the false story should hear the correction from the true owner. Vanessa's expression became uneasy. You cannot turn our event against us. Lena looked at the recovered messages. You gathered the investors, prepared the contracts, and scheduled the media. She placed one hand on the Casa Aurelia ownership file. I will only make sure the right person explains who owns the table. Ang gabing tinawag siya bilang tunay na may-ari. Kinagabihan. Muling napuno ng mga sasakyang mamahalin ang driveway ng Casa Aurelia, Manila. Mas malaki ang gala kaysa sa VIP dinner noong nakaraang gabi. Dumating ang mga hotel executives, food critics, investors, lifestyle reporters at regional distributors. May live string quartet sa lobby, crystal lights sa kisame at floral installations na halos sumakop sa buong entrance. Sa media wall, magkatabi ang mga logo ng Montenegro Prestige Holdings at Casa Aurelia. Ngunit, mas malaki ang pangalan ng kumpanya ni Sebastian. Sa gitna ng backdrop ay larawan ni Vanessa Soriano na nakasuot ng modernong Filipiniana-inspired gown. Sa ilalim nito ay ang linyang, The New Face Behind Casa Aurelia. Hindi ipinahinto ni Lena ang pagpasok ng mga bisita. Hindi rin niya pinatanggal agad ang poster. Nais niyang makita ng lahat kung gaano kalayo ang handang puntahan ni na Vanessa, Damian at Clarissa upang gawing mukhang totoo ang isang kasunduang hindi pa umiiral. Sa ikalawang palapag, tahimik siyang naghanda kasama si Attorney Beatriz Villarreal, Mateo Reyes at 2 independent members ng Villarreal Culinary Group Board. Suot ni Lena ang isang puting tailored suit na may simpleng gold sampagita brooch na dating pag-aari ng kanyang ina. Walang malalaking alahas. Walang dramatic entrance. Sa mesa sa harap niya ay nakahanda ang Original Casa Aurelia Trademark Registration, Shareholding Records, Villarreal Culinary Trust Charter, Deed ng Restaurant Building, Partnership Agreement sa Montenegro Prestige, Independent Valuation, at notices suspending all unapproved merger actions. Clarissa scheduled the press release for 8:15. Sabi ni Beatriz, Can we block it? Yes. Do not block it yet. Mateo looked at her. Madam Owner, kapag naipadala iyon, maaaring kumalat agad ang maling balita. Let them press the button. Beatrice understood. You want the system to record the attempted publication and the wording they intend to release. Customer and supplier portals are already protected. What about the heritage assets? Your mother's portrait is back inside Aurelia room. Sabi ni Mateo. The temporary Vanessa photograph has been preserved as evidence. And the room reservation, restored under your name. Lina nodded. Then tonight, they may use the stage. She closed the ownership folder. But they will not use the restaurant. Sa main ballroom, nakaupo si Vanessa sa head table. May gold nameplate sa harap niya. Vanessa Soriano, incoming creative director. Sa tabi niya si Sebastian. Wala ang dating lambing sa pagitan nila. Mula nang mabasa niya ang secret messages. Hindi na nito hinahawakan ng kamay ng mistress. Ngunit hindi rin siya umatras mula sa gala. Naniniwala pa rin siyang maaari niyang iligtas ang proposed integration at kontrolin ang narrative. Remove the word incoming. Mahina niyang sabi kay Clarissa. Why? Because the appointment is under dispute. Changing the card now will look weak. It is not approved. Clarissa glanced at Vanessa. The guests already expect an announcement. Vanessa lifted her champagne glass. Let them expect it. Sebastian turned to her. You knew your family's holding company would control the international structure. We discussed this last night. No, you avoided answering. Because you were angry. I asked who would own it. It was a transitional vehicle. Controlled by Enrico. Temporarily. And after I signed, every disputed authorization remained under my name. Vanessa leaned closer. You were the CEO leading the acquisition of a brand my company did not own. You knew Lina would resist. That does not mean you could build a structure around me. You were already building one around her. Sebastian went silent. Again, Vanessa had spoken a truth he did not want to hear. He had tried to use public pressure against Lena. Now he was furious because someone else intended to use him in the same way. At precisely 8 o'clock, the ballroom lights dimmed. The host walked onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, we celebrate a new chapter in Filipino hospitality. Sa screen ay lumitaw ang images ng Casa Aurelia. The original Quezon City dining room, the BGC flagship, luxury catering inside Montenegro hotels, international guests, at images of Vanessa walking through the restaurant kitchen in a designer dress. Wala sa founder timeline si Lena. Wala rin ang larawan ni Chef Aurelia Villarreal. Ang kwento ay nagsimula sa strategic expansion ng Montenegro Prestige. Sa second floor control room, nakita iyon ni Lena. They removed my mother from the timeline. Sabi niya. Mateo's jaw tightened. We preserved the original version. Good. Should I stop the video? No. She watched Vanessa appear on the screen as if she had created the restaurant's future. Let them finish rewriting the story. Sa stage, tinawag ang CEO. Please welcome the visionary leader behind the strategic rise of Casa Aurelia, Mr. Sebastian Montenegro. Nagpalakpakan ng audience. Sebastian walked toward the microphone. For a moment, he looked toward the upper balcony. He knew Lina was somewhere inside the building. He also knew she had the authority to stop everything. But pride, investors, and fear of public failure pushed him forward. Casa Aurelia has always represented Filipino excellence. Sabi niya, for years, Montenegro Prestige has helped bring that excellence into luxury hotels, corporate events, and international hospitality markets. Tama ang bahaging iyon. Ang kumpanya niya ay naging mahalagang commercial partner. Ngunit pagkatapos ay lumitaw sa screen ang simplified corporate diagram ni Damien. Sa gitna, Montenegro Prestige Hospitality Group. Sa ilalim nito, Casa Aurelia Restaurants, Casa Aurelia Catering, Culinary Academy, Supplier Network, at proposed international franchises. Walang Villarreal Culinary Trust. Walang building ownership. Walang founder veto. Sebastian continued. Tonight, we intend to move from partnership toward full strategic integration. Nagbulungan ang ilang investors. Hindi niya ginamit ang salitang acquisition. Ngunit malinaw ang mensahe. Casa Aurelia was being presented as a future subsidiary of Montenegro Prestige. Damien stepped onto the stage carrying a digital tablet. The integration structure will combine real estate, hotel distribution, restaurant operations, and global branding into one commercial platform. Sa screen ay lumitaw ang proposed valuation, PHP 3, 2 billion. Victor Lim, na naroon din noong nakaraang gabi, frowned. He had already seen the independent valuation of 8 billion. Damien continued. Due to rising food costs and supplier instability, the transaction provides Casa Aurelia with the capital and operational discipline required for sustainable growth. Sa upper balcony, sinabi ni Beatrice, he is still using Rico's inflated numbers. Let him. Sagot ni Lena. The investors need to hear the exact misrepresentation. Sa stage, ipinakilala ni Damien si Enrico Soriano. Nagpresenta ito ng supplier consolidation plan under the new structure. Sabi ni Enrico, Casa Aurelia will reduce operational risk by replacing fragmented local suppliers with one integrated distribution network. Sa screen ay lumitaw ang logo ng Soriano Culinary Distribution Corporation. Walang binanggit tungkol sa mas mataas na presyo, 12% rebate, lack of safety history, o family relationship kay Vanessa. Chef Tomas watched from the side of the ballroom. His hands tightened. Ang mga magsasakang tumulong sa Casa Aurelia sa loob ng mahigit isang dekada ay tinawag na fragmented risk ng lalaking gustong kumita sa pagpapalit sa kanila. Pagkatapos ay si Clarissa naman ang umakyat. Every great brand needs a clear modern voice. Sabi niya. Sa screen, nagpakita ang photographs ni Vanessa sa iba't ibang bahagi ng restaurant. She was standing beside chefs, holding heritage dishes, sitting inside Aurelia room. In one image, the portrait of Chef Aurelia had already been replaced by Vanessa's own framed photograph. And tonight, patuloy ni Clarissa, we are proud to introduce the woman who will guide Casa Aurelia's next creative chapter. Tinawag niya si Vanessa. Pumalakpak ang audience habang umaakyat ito sa stage. Suot ni Vanessa ang emerald green gown at pearl earrings. Humawak siya sa microphone na para bang matagal nang sa kaniya ang buong restaurant. Casa Aurelia has a beautiful past, sabi niya. But a legacy survives only when it is brave enough to change. Sa screen ay lumitaw ang title. Vanessa Soriano Proposed Creative Director Brand Vision Partner. Hindi na ginamit ang salitang beneficiary. Malamang ay binago iyon matapos ang audit noong nakaraang gabi. Vanessa smiled. I am honored to help transform Casa Aurelia from a traditional family name into a global luxury experience. Sa likod ng ballroom, narinig ni Isa ang ilang empleyadong magbulungan. Traditional family name lang daw. Hindi ba pamilya ni Madam Lena ang gumawa nito? Bakit parang sila na ang may-ari? Isa looked toward Mateo. He gave her a small nod. Not yet. Sa stage, inilabas ni Clarissa ang ceremonial contract folder. Tonight, our partners will witness the signing of the strategic integration framework. Sebastian stiffened. I thought the signing was postponed. Damien leaned toward him. It is ceremonial, subject to ratification. Lena suspended negotiations. The board can still review a signed framework. We do not have owner consent. The document states subject to owner ratification. Sebastian looked toward the audience. If he refused, the gala would publicly collapse. If he signed, he would again place his name on a transaction already exposed as misleading. Vanessa whispered, "You brought everyone here. Do not humiliate us now." He looked at her. "You mean do not humiliate you? I mean protect the company." "Which company?" She said nothing. Clarissa opened the folder on the podium. The first signature line was for Montenegro Prestige Holdings. The second was for Soriano Culinary Distribution. The third was for Soriano Prestige Events. The final line, Villarreal Culinary Group pending ratification. No line for Lena personally. No reference to her veto right. Damien handed Sebastian the pen. Bago niya ito tanggapin, may boses na nanggaling sa gitna ng ballroom. A pending ratification is not an approval. Lumingon ang lahat. Nakatayo si Lena sa entrance ng main aisle. Sa tabi niya sina Mateo, Attorney, Beatriz, at Sofia. Tahimik ang damit niya kumpara sa gala gown sa stage. Ngunit nang makita siya ng longtime staff, kusang tumuwid ang kanilang tindig. Sebastian's face hardened. "You agreed not to interrupt the presentation. I agreed to let you finish telling the investors what you intended to do. This is a private corporate event." "In my restaurant?" Vanessa stepped toward the edge of the stage. "You already took the VIP dinner from us last night. Must you also make tonight about yourself?" Lena walked slowly down the aisle. "It became about me when you used my mother's name, my company's logo, and my building to announce a transaction requiring my consent." Sebastian lowered the microphone. "You are not part of the presentation. I am the controlling owner of the company being presented. Lena, do not make this more embarrassing than it already is." She stopped. Embarrassing for whom? For everyone? No. The investors were shown false ownership, an undervalued company, and a supplier plan benefiting your mistress's family. Damien intervened. "These claims are disputed. Then we should show the supporting documents." Clarissa signaled toward the control room. "Cut the microphones." Nothing happened. She tried again. The main screens went black. The images of Vanessa disappeared. The Montenegro corporate diagram vanished. After 3 seconds, a single gold logo appeared. Villarreal Culinary Group. Beneath it, Casa Aurelia, founded by Chef Aurelia Villarreal and Elena Villarreal. Sa gitna ng screen ay lumitaw ang larawan ni Chef Aurelia at Batang Lena sa unang restaurant kitchen. The room became silent. Vanessa looked toward the technicians. "Who changed the presentation?" Mateo answered. "The building's owner." The next screen displayed the shareholding structure. Villarreal Culinary Trust, 55%. Elena Villarreal Montenegro, 24%. Employee and Chef Trust, 9%. Independent Investors, 7%. Montenegro Prestige Holdings, 5% non-controlling interest. Several guests immediately raised their phones. Sebastian looked at Damien. "You told me the trust had agreed to transfer control." The discussions were advanced. 5%? Sebastian said. "My company owns 5%. Commercial agreements expanded your influence. That is not control." Lena reached the stage. Attorney Beatriz handed her the partnership agreement. She opened to the relevant clause. Montenegro Prestige may refer hotel clients. Commission, catering, and propose licensed restaurant locations. She turned the page. It may not appoint Casa Aurelia executives. Transfer the trademark, replace protected suppliers, or announce a merger without written approval from the Villarreal Culinary Group. Damien tried to respond. The integration agreement would have amended those restrictions. If it had been approved, it was subject to later ratification. Then it was not a completed transaction. Vanessa lifted her microphone. Sebastian was presenting a vision. A vision that gave you a title, fees and beneficiary rights before the owner agreed. The creative role was provisional. So was the public lie. The audience murmured. Vanessa looked toward Sebastian for support. He did not speak. Lena turned to the screen. The next slide showed the independent valuation. PHP 5. 8 billion. Beside it was the proposed transaction valuation. PHP 3. 2 billion. Then the inflated procurement reports appeared beside the actual kitchen records. Casa Aurelia was presented as financially weak, sabi ni Lena. But the weakness came from manipulated reports. Rico Sandoval. Standing near the back exit, I tried to leave. Mateo signaled to the security liaison. Mr. Sandoval? Please remain available for the internal investigation. Rico stopped. The next screen displayed the event budget. PHP 42. Ling ling ling. Ling ling ling. Followed by the related party payments. Soriano Prestige Events. Vanessa's image fee. Enrico Supplier Company. Damien's consulting vehicle. Clarissa raised her voice. This is confidential business information. It belongs to the companies paying it, sagot ni Beatrice. Vanessa's expression changed when the final message thread appeared. After Sebastian signs, he takes responsibility with the board and his wife. We keep the brand. The hotel contracts and the profit. Every eye turned toward her. She gripped the microphone. That message is being misinterpreted. Sebastian finally stepped away from her. What interpretation makes it acceptable? We were discussing legal risk. You were discussing leaving the risk under my name. You were the CEO. And your family controlled the intermediate company. It was a temporary structure. You still cannot say when control would return to Montenegro Prestige. Vanessa looked toward Lena. You wanted this. You wanted him to turn against me? No. Sagot ni Lena. You wrote the message. You exposed private conversations. You used corporate systems to plan a related party transaction. Sebastian turned toward Damien. Did you design the structure so I would remain liable while Soriano companies received the contracts? Damien remained calm. You approved the transaction. That is not an answer. The CEO bears responsibility for executive decisions. And the CFO collecting a private fee? The fee was disclosed. In an annex, you summarized. Damien had no reply. Lena approached the ceremonial contract. She did not tear it. She placed a red suspension notice on top. No owner approval, no board ratification, no authority to execute. The proposed integration is suspended. Sabi niya. All related vendor appointments, creative titles and brand announcements are void pending investigation. Enrico objected. Our supplier agreement was negotiated in good faith, with inflated cost reports and a rebate to your sister's company. That is a marketing arrangement. It is an undisclosed related party payment. Clarissa said, You cannot cancel the gala after inviting all these people. The gala may continue as a Casa Aurelia heritage event. Vanessa laughed bitterly. And what happens to my role? You never had one. The cards, announcement, and media campaign already identified me. Those were created without authority. I sat at the head table. Lina looked toward Isa. The young server walked forward carrying 2 place cards. The first read, Vanessa Soriano, incoming creative director. The second, Elena Villarreal Montenegro, owner and chairwoman. Isa placed Lina's card at the head position. Then she removed Vanessa's card. The confirmed reservation has been restored, she said. Some employees quietly applauded. Vanessa's face reddened. You are humiliating me in front of staff. Lena looked at her. Yesterday, you offered to seat me near the kitchen. That was before. Before you learned I owned the restaurant. Vanessa stopped. That is the problem. Patuloy ni Lena. Respect should not begin after seeing an ownership certificate. Mateo stepped toward the microphone. For the record, Aurelia Room remains a protected heritage space named after Chef Aurelia Villarreal. Sa screen ay lumitaw ang restored portrait. The proposed name Vanessa Grand Salon has no legal or managerial approval. Sophia smiled from beside the stage. Lola's room keeps her name. Yes, sagot ni Lena. Vanessa looked at the child but said nothing. Sebastian stood near the contract table. Stripped of the authority he had performed only minutes earlier. You planned this entire reveal. Sabi niya kay Lena. I plan to correct the record. You could have met me privately. I did. You could have warned me that Damien's ownership chart was false. I told you there was no approved integration. I thought you were protecting your family's control. I was protecting the truth. You let me stand here and present the deal. You chose to continue after seeing the audit. His face tightened. You wanted everyone to see me fail. No. Lina looked toward the investors. I wanted everyone you misled to see the real documents. She picked up the ownership file. Yesterday, you removed me from the room because you believed Vanessa's guests mattered more. Then she pointed toward the building deed, trademark records, and shareholder structure. Tonight, you tried to remove me from the company because you believed your title mattered more. Sebastian lowered his eyes. The investors no longer looked at him as the owner of Casa Aurelia. They saw him for what the documents prove he was. A commercial partner. A minority shareholder. A CEO who had signed beyond his authority. Lena turned toward the guests. Casa Aurelia will honor all legitimate reservations and existing supplier obligations while the investigation continues. She looked toward the restaurant employees. No staff member will be punished for preserving records or refusing an improper instruction. Isa's eyes filled with relief. Local suppliers will receive a direct review. No contract will be terminated based on manipulated reports. Chef Thomas nodded. And every peso connected to this event will be audited. Clarissa looked toward the media representatives. You are damaging the restaurant's reputation. Lena answered. A restaurant's reputation is damaged when it lies about ownership, uses low-quality ingredients, and punishes employees for telling the truth. She faced the audience again, not when it corrects those things. The screen changed one final time. It displayed no ownership percentage, no budget, no scandalous message. Only a photograph of Chef Aurelia welcoming customers at the entrance of the first Casa Aurelia restaurant. Beneath it appeared her original service principle. No guest becomes important by making another person feel small. The employees began to applaud. Then the chefs. Then several investors. The applause spread through the ballroom. Vanessa stood beneath the stage lights, but no longer as the future of Casa Aurelia. Damien held the ownership chart that had just been disproved. Clarissa's press release remained blocked. Enrico's supplier contract lay unsigned. And Sebastian watched his wife stand beneath the portrait of the woman whose room he had tried to give away. Lina turned toward him. Yesterday, you reserved the VIP room for your mistress and ordered the restaurant owner removed. She looked around the ballroom. But the room, the building, and the name printed on every menu belonged to the company I built with my mother. Sebastian could not answer. Lina handed the microphone back to Mateo. Aurelia room is ready for the board. Then she took Sophia's hand. Together, they walked toward the private room that had finally been returned to its rightful name. Ang CEO na hindi may-ari ng mesa. Kinabukasan matapos ang gala, hindi nagbukas ang Aurelia room para sa kahit sinong VIP guest. Ginamit ito bilang temporary investigation room. Sa mahabang dining table na minsang nilagyan ng place card ni Vanessa Soriano. Nakahanay ngayon ang procurement reports, supplier contracts, bank transfer records, event invoices, system access logs, at printed copies ng messages ni Vanessa, Damien, Rico, Clarissa at Enrico. Sa dingding ay muling nakasabit ang larawan ni Chef Aurelia Villarreal. Sa ilalim, portrait. Tahimik na nakaupo si Lena kasama sina Attorney Beatriz, Mateo Reyes, Executive Chef Tomas at Independent Auditors. Hindi siya nakasuot ng mamahaling gown. Simple lamang ang dark blue business suit niya. Ngunit sa pagkakataong iyon, walang sino man sa Casa Aurelia ang nagkamaling tanungin kung may karapatan siyang maupo sa head seat. Confirmed ang first layer ng procurement manipulation. Sabi ng lead auditor, Rico Sandoval inflated reported food cost by approximately 36 million pesos over 6 months. Chef Tomas clenched his jaw. That money never reached the farms. No. Sagot ng auditor. Some amounts were entered as projected losses. Advance commitments and logistics reserves. Where did the actual transfers go? Tanong ni Lena. To 3 intermediary companies. Beatrice turned the screen toward her. Ang unang company ay pag-aari ng dating business partner ni Enrico. Ang ikalawa ay nakarehistro sa address ng Soriano Prestige Events. Ang ikatlo ay isang shell consulting firm na ginagamit ni Damian Cruz. Mateo shook his head. So the restaurant looked weaker on paper, while connected companies collected the difference. Yes. And the lower profit supported the 3.2 billion valuation. Sabi ni Lena. Correct. The auditor opened another file. Independent revenue figures show Casa Aurelia remained profitable. The cost crisis was exaggerated. Lina looked toward Chef Aurelia's portrait. They had tried to describe her mother's restaurant as a failing family business that needed rescue. In reality, they had been manufacturing the weakness they planned to use as an excuse for taking it. Mateo placed a sealed evidence box on the table. Quality control also completed the preliminary review of the new supplier samples. Inside were frozen seafood packs, imported vegetables, sauce concentrates, and pre-mixed dessert bases, carrying labels from Enrico's distribution company. Chef Tomas opened the official report. The seafood temperature records are incomplete. Several vegetable packs have inconsistent origin labels. What about the dessert bases? Tanong ni Lena. They contain artificial flavoring not approved for the Casa Aurelia Heritage menu. One of the auditors looked surprised. They plan to replace house-made components. Yes. Sagot ni Tomas. The calamansi custard base was designed to arrive frozen. Lina's expression changed. That dessert was based on her mother's handwritten recipe. It was made fresh every morning. The proposed supplier contract would have replaced it with a factory-produced mix while keeping Chef Aurelia's name on the menu. Quarantine every unapproved sample, sabi ni Lena. Already done. Sagot ni Mateo. No kitchen uses anything until the source. Safety and recipe permissions are verified. Yes, Madam Owner. Notify the local farms that their existing contracts remain active. Chef Thomas nodded. They have been waiting for confirmation. Tell them Casa Aurelia will honor every valid order. The first consequence of the gala was immediate. Rico Sandoval was suspended as procurement director. His access to supplier systems, receiving records, payment requests, and inventory reports was revoked. In the internal hearing, he insisted that he had only followed Sebastian's strategic plan. Mr. Montenegro wanted the restaurant integrated into his hotel network, sabi niya. Lina sat across from him. Did he order you to falsify kitchen costs? No. Did he order you to classify reliable farms as high risk? He wanted alternatives. Did he order you to destroy my reservation confirmation? He wanted Vanessa's event prioritized. That was not my question. Rico looked toward his lawyer. No. Did Damien ask you to lower Casa Aurelia's apparent profitability? He asked for conservative reports. Did Enrico ask you to increase instability projections? Rico remained silent. Beatrice placed the preserved email in front of him. Increase the projected instability risk? The board needs to believe current supply is unsustainable. You replied that you would update the cost reports. Sabi ni Beatrice. It was a scenario model. It was presented as actual operating performance. The CFO approved the format. So, you knew the report would be used in the transaction? Yes. Did you receive any benefit? No. The auditor displayed a bank transfer. 2 million pesos had been sent to a property company controlled by Rico's brother. The sender was an Enrico Link supplier. Rico looked at the screen. That was a private loan? Declared to Casa Aurelia, tanong ni Lena. No. Repaid? No. Then it will be investigated as a related party benefit. Rico's confidence disappeared. You cannot assume corruption from one transaction. I am not assuming. Lina closed the folder. I am preserving evidence and removing your authority while investigators determine the truth. The second consequence reached Clarissa Soriano. Every payment connected to Soriano Prestige events was frozen pending proof of service. The company was ordered to provide influencer contracts, media placement receipts, vendor quotations, guest management records, and proof that the 17 million peso fee reflected real work. Clarissa arrived at the Casa Aurelia legal office wearing sunglasses and an expensive cream suit. This is retaliation? Sabi niya. Beatrice answered. It is an audit. You humiliated my sister in front of the press. Your company prepared a false acquisition release. It was based on information from Montenegro Prestige. You also created a campaign identifying Vanessa as incoming creative director. Because Sebastian approved it. He could not appoint Casa Aurelia officers. That is a governance dispute. It became an invoice issue when your company charged millions to announce the disputed title. Clarissa removed her sunglasses. The event generated enormous publicity. Publicity for whom? For Casa Aurelia. The largest image in the ballroom was Vanessa's. She was the campaign face? Without owner approval? Clarissa's voice hardened. If Lina had cooperated, the deal could have elevated the brand. Beatrice closed the file. The brand did not need an inflated event contract to become valuable. Clarissa's company lost all Casa Aurelia projects. It was also removed from Montenegro Prestige's approved vendor list after several board members demanded an independent review. Enrico's supplier transition was cancelled. No Casa Aurelia kitchen would purchase from Soriano Culinary Distribution until food safety records were verified, beneficial ownership was disclosed, rebates were investigated, and the company explained its role in the manipulated cost reports. The local farms were restored. When Lena visited the Batangas cooperative 2 weeks later, the farmers were expecting bad news. An elderly woman named Aling Rosa held the termination notice that Rico had prepared but never legally activated. Akala po namin tapos na ang kontrata. Sabi niya. It was never validly terminated. Sagot ni Lena. They told us our supply was unstable. Your delivery record was better than the company replacing you. Bakit po nila gustong alisin kami? Because someone could collect more money from an expensive intermediary. Aling Rosa looked down at the notice. Then we nearly lost years of work because of a boardroom plan. Yes? Lina did not soften the truth. That is why supplier decisions will now require independent verification. Casa Aurelia introduced a new sourcing policy. No single procurement director could remove a long-term supplier without kitchen approval, quality review, financial comparison, and conflict of interest disclosure. Rico had used one office to change reports, supplier ratings, and reservation records. Lina made sure no future employee could hold that much unchecked authority. But the largest confrontation did not happen inside Casa Aurelia. It took place at the headquarters of Montenegro Prestige Holdings. The company's board convened an emergency session to review the 42 million peso event budget, Sebastian's undisclosed relationship with Vanessa, Damian's advisory fee, the attempted acquisition of Casa Aurelia, and the use of corporate funds for Vanessa's birthday and personal brand launch. Sebastian sat at one end of the boardroom. Damian sat 2 seats away. Vanessa was invited as a related party witness but had no voting authority. Independent Director Marina Velasco chaired the hearing. She opened with a gala video. On the screen, Sebastian could be seen saying, "Tonight, we intend to move from partnership toward full strategic integration." The next clip showed the ownership structure revealing Montenegro Prestige held only 5%. Marina paused the recording. Mr. Montenegro, when you made the announcement, did you possess written approval from the controlling owner? No. Did you possess board ratification from Villarreal Culinary Group? No. Then why did you announce the transaction? I believed approval was imminent. Based on what? Damian's summaries and discussions with trust representatives. Marina turned toward Damian. Did the trust agree to transfer control? It agreed to review a restructuring proposal. That is not the same answer. The negotiations were advanced? Did you tell Mr. Montenegro that Elena Villarreal Montenegro retained veto authority? The transaction package included governance risks. In the main summary, in the legal annex, Sebastian looked at him. You told me her approval was procedural. I told you it could be obtained through ratification. You said the announcement would create momentum. That was the strategy. Marina opened the budget file. Did you disclose your 2.5 million peso advisory fee? It was listed in the transaction schedule. Did you disclose it orally to the board? No. Why not? It was considered part of professional transaction costs. You are already paid as CFO? The acquisition required work outside ordinary responsibilities. Marina's expression remained cold. You cannot privately charge your employer for designing a transaction that falls under your executive duties without independent approval. Damien said nothing. The next evidence came from the recovered messages. Every executive authorization is under Sebastian's name. Marina looked at him. What did that mean? Damien answered carefully. The CEO was the proper executive signatory. And if the Villarreal Group challenged the deal, he would represent Montenegro Prestige. Personally carry the responsibility. As CEO, Sebastian leaned forward. You knew the intermediate company belonged to the Soriano family. It was intended as a temporary vehicle. You did not put that in the summary. It was in the ownership annex. You put every dangerous fact in documents you knew I would receive after your recommendation? You had legal counsel. You controlled which documents reached me before the event. Damien's calm expression finally broke. You signed them. Yes. Sagot ni Sebastian. And you designed them so I would sign. Vanessa crossed her arms. You cannot blame Damien for your decisions. Sebastian turned toward her. You approved the structure. I approved my role. You wrote that I would take responsibility while your family kept the brand and profit. That message referred to public management. The brand would move into your brother's company. Temporarily. And when would control return? When the international structure stabilized. To Montenegro Presh, to the group. Which group? Vanessa did not answer. Marina displayed the final ownership diagram. The proposed intermediate holding company would be 40% controlled by Enrico's company, 30% by Vanessa through an option, 20% by Clarissa's investment vehicle, 10% reserved for future strategic partners. Montenegro Prestige was not listed as an owner. It was listed as Hospitality Management Partner. Sebastian stared at the diagram. You intended to reduce my company to a manager. Vanessa's expression hardened. You wanted Casa Aurelia without Lena. We wanted the brand without depending on you forever. He stood. You used me. You used your wife? The room fell silent. Vanessa continued. You signed because you wanted to prove you could take her company. Now you are angry because someone planned to do the same to you. He looked at her with fury. That does not excuse you. No. Then why say it? Because you keep acting like you are the only victim. Marina ordered both of them to stop. The board continued reviewing Sebastian's conduct. Did you use corporate funds for Vanessa's birthday event? Tanong niya. It was combined with investor activity. Did you disclose your relationship with her? No. Did you approve her 6 million peso fee? I approve a general creative budget. Did you read the annex? No. Did you ask Lena whether Casa Aurelia approved the appointment? No. Why not? Sebastian looked toward the glass wall. Because I knew she would refuse. The answer changed the atmosphere. He had claimed he believed Lena's approval was procedural. But he had intentionally avoided asking because he expected the true owner to say no. Marina closed the file. You were deceived regarding the ultimate structure. Yes. You were not deceived about bypassing the controlling owner. Sebastian said nothing. After a 2-hour deliberation, the board announced its decision. Damian Cruz was suspended as CFO. His authority over banking, vendor approvals, acquisition projects, and corporate reporting was revoked pending forensic investigation. All files connected to his advisory vehicle were referred to external counsel and regulators. Vanessa was removed from every Montenegro prestige brand, investor and hospitality project. Her access to company offices, events and media accounts was terminated. The 6 million peso image fee was cancelled. Then the board addressed Sebastian. Marina read the resolution. Sebastian Montenegro is suspended as Chief Executive Officer and Executive Chairman pending final investigation into undisclosed related party transactions, misuse of corporate funds, failure of due diligence and misleading acquisition representations. Sebastian stood. You cannot suspend the founder of this company. You founded part of the business. Sagot ni Marina. That does not place you above governance. Without me, the hotel group will lose Casa Aurelia. The exclusive partnership is already suspended. You need me to negotiate with Lina. We need independent counsel. She will not trust anyone else. She no longer trusts you. He looked toward Lina, who had been invited to present Casa Aurelia's contractual position but had remained outside during the board's deliberation. When she entered, Sebastian walked directly toward her. Tell them the partnership can be saved. The employees and legitimate hotel service contracts will be reviewed separately. Sagot niya. That is not what I ask. You asked me to protect your position. I ask you to protect the companies we built. Casa Aurelia will be protected. And Montenegro Prestige. That is the responsibility of its board. You can tell them I was manipulated. You were. Then say I did not intend to steal Casa Aurelia. Lina looked at him. You intended to make a public announcement without my consent. I believe the deal benefited both companies. You believed public pressure would force me to accept it? I wanted growth. You wanted control. Damien and Vanessa lied to me. Yes. Then why will you not defend me? Because their betrayal does not erase yours. He lowered his voice. I am still your husband. You remembered that after using my mother's restaurant to celebrate your mistress? We were separated. We were legally married. That was between us. You made it a corporate matter when you used company money, my brand and our daughter's family heritage. He looked away. Do you want me to lose everything? No. Then help me. I want every employee, supplier, investor, and customer protected. And May, I want you to face the consequences of what you signed. Sebastian clenched his jaw. You enjoy having the power now. Lina's voice stayed calm. I had the power before you tried to remove me from the room. Then why did you stay silent for so long? Because I believe our marriage did not need a public ownership contest. And now I understand that my silence allowed you to tell yourself the restaurant was yours. She handed him a copy of the original partnership agreement. You did not lose Casa Aurelia when Mateo called me Madam Owner. He looked at the document. You lost it when you believed bringing customers to the table gave you the right to remove the woman who built the restaurant. Back at Casa Aurelia, the staff gathered after closing time. Lina stood with Mateo, Isa and Chef Tomas inside the main dining room. Will the hotels cancel all their bookings? Tanong ng isang server. No? Sagot ni Lena. Legitimate reservations will be honored. Will we lose our jobs because the partnership is suspended? No employee will be punished for executive misconduct. What about the suppliers? The verified local contracts remain. Isa stepped forward. And Mr. Rico, he remains suspended. The investigation will decide the final consequence. Mateo looked around the room. Madam Owner, the staff also wants to know whether Aurelia room will remain VIP only. Lina glanced toward the private room doors. It will remain a heritage and board space. Who may reserve it? Guests? Families and organizations whose events respect the room's history and restaurant policy. Will Mr. Montenegro still be allowed inside? The employees became quiet. Lina answered without hesitation. As a customer who follows the rules, yes. Isa looked surprised. Even after he tried to remove you. A restaurant should not become a place where ownership is used for personal revenge. Then why did he lose access to executive reservations? Because business privileges require trust. She looked toward the portrait of Chef Aurelia. My mother taught me that no guest becomes important by making another person feel small. Lina faced the staff again. That rule also applies to owners, CEOs, and people who once belonged to our family. At the Montenegro headquarters, Sebastian sat alone in his dark office. His system access had been reduced. The Casa Aurelia logo had disappeared from the strategic partnership dashboard. Vanessa no longer answered his calls. Damien's office was sealed. On his desk was the message that had exposed the plan. After Sebastian signs, he takes responsibility with the board and his wife. We keep the brand, the hotel contracts, and the profit. He had wanted to place Lina outside the door. Instead, he was the one standing outside every room where important decisions were now being made. And for the first time, he understood that a seat at the head of the table did not belong to the person with the loudest title. It belonged to the person trusted to protect everyone sitting around it. Ang babaeng nagbukas muli ng pintuan. 11 buwan ang lumipas bago natapos ang buong forensic investigation sa Casa Aurelia. Montenegro Prestige Holdings at mga kumpanyang konektado sa pamilya Soriano. Hindi agad nagdiwang si Lena Villarreal Montenegro matapos masuspinde si Sebastian bilang CEO. Hindi rin niya ginamit ang viral na video ng gala upang gawing entertainment ang pagbagsak ng asawa at mistress nito. Habang pinag-uusapan ng social media ang sandaling tinawag siya ni Mateo Reyes na Madam Owner. Abala si Lena sa mas mahirap na bahagi ng pagbawi sa restaurant. Pagtiyak kung gaano kalalim ang pinsalang ginawa sa mga supplier, empleyado, investor at customer. Sa unang 3 buwan, sinuri ng independent auditors ang bawat procurement contract, event invoice at supplier payment na inaprubahan ni Rico Sandoval at Damian Cruz. Napatunayang ang pagbaba ng kita ng Casa Aurelia ay hindi totoong resulta ng mahinang negosyo. Sadyang pinalaki ang food costs. Ang ilang delivery ay 2 beses na naitala. Ang ibang invoice ay may produkto at event na hindi kailanman natanggap ng restaurant. At ang mga projected expenses ay inilagay sa operating reports na para bang aktual ng nagastos ang pera. Dahil dito, lumitaw na mahina ang restaurant sa papel kahit nananatiling malakas ang tunay nitong kita. Ang manipulated reports ang ginamit upang ibaba ang valuation ng Casa Aurelia mula halos 8 billion pesos tungo sa 2 billion. Kung natuloy ang transaction, mabibili ng proposed holding company ang isang malusog na restaurant group sa presyong para sa isang negosyong nangangailangan ng rescue. Sa final procurement hearing, permanenteng tinanggal si Rico Sandoval. Ang 2 million peso loan na natanggap ng company ng kaniyang kapatid mula sa Enrico-linked supplier ay ipinasa sa investigators bilang posibleng undisclosed benefit. Iginiit ni Rico na hindi iyon suhol, ngunit hindi niya maipaliwanag kung bakit. Walang repayment schedule, walang interest, walang board disclosure, at dumating ang pera ilang araw matapos niyang baguhin ang supplier risk reports. Bago tuluyang umalis sa Casa Aurelia, hinarap niya si Isa Flores sa employee corridor. Masaya ka na tanong niya. Isa remained calm. Hindi po. Dahil sa papel na itinago mo, nawalan ako ng trabaho. Dahil po sa ginawa ninyo sa papel, supplier records at invoices, kaya kayo nawalan ng trabaho. You could have obeyed. I did. Rico laughed bitterly. Whose order? The restaurant's rules. Sa unang pagkakataon, hindi natakot si Isa sa kaniya. Hindi na rin siya simpleng VIP server na maaaring patahimikin ng isang supervisor. Matapos ang investigation, itinaas siya bilang Guest Integrity and Heritage Relations Supervisor. Binigyan siya ng direct authority na i-preserve ang reservation records, i-report ang pressure mula sa executives, protektahan ang heritage room policies, at humiling ng independent review kapag may VIP na gustong alisin ang existing guest nang walang legal na dahilan. Sa promotion ceremony, sinabi ni Lena sa kaniya, "You did not save only my reservation." Isa lowered her eyes. Isang printed confirmation lang po iyon. You protected the truth before you knew whether the owner would protect you? Natakot po akong matanggal. You nearly were. Then the system was weak. Yes. Hindi itinanggi ni Lena ang pagkukulang. That is why we are changing the system, not only rewarding the person who survived it. Nagpatupad ang Casa Aurelia ng bagong reservation and guest protection policy. Wala ng CEO, politician, celebrity o investor na maaaring kumuha ng reservation ng ibang customer ng walang written consent, emergency justification, general manager approval, at preservation ng original booking record. Ang Aurelia Room ay nanatiling heritage space. Hindi ito naging pribadong simbolo ng kapangyarihan ni Lena. Maaari pa rin itong i-book ng mga pamilya, charitable organizations, culinary scholars, foreign guests, at business groups. Ngunit may isang permanenteng kondisyon. No event may remove Chef Aurelia's portrait, change the room's name, or treat staff and existing guests as inferior. Ang malaking portrait ni Vanessa na minsang inilagay sa dingding ay hindi itinapon. Inilagay ito sa Legal Evidence Archive kasama ang fake creative director cards, event contracts, at altered reservation records. Hindi bilang alaala ng kahihiyan, kundi bilang paalala kung gaano kabilis maaaring baguhin ng marketing ang hitsura ng katotohanan kung walang taong handang tumayo at magsabing mali iyon. Si Clarissa Soriano ay nawalan ng lahat ng kontrata sa Casa Aurelia. Sa audit ng Soriano Prestige Events, maraming invoices ang walang sapat na supporting documents. Ang ilang influencer fees ay nakapangalan sa creators na hindi dumalo. Ang iba ay para sa international media placements na hindi kailanman na-book. Mahigit 8 milyong piso ang inutusang ibalik sa mga kumpanyang nagbayad sa event. Sinubukan ni Clarissa na ipagtanggol ang sarili sa isang television interview. With delivered visibility, sabi niya, the event became one of the most talked about hospitality stories of the year. Ngunit sumagot ang host, the visibility came from the ownership scandal, not the campaign you sold. Wala siyang maibalik na sagot. Si Enrico Soriano naman ay tuluyang naalis sa supplier network. Ang proposed frozen products, imported vegetables at pre-mixed sauces ay hindi pinayagang gamitin sa anumang Casa Aurelia kitchen. Napatunayan ding ang 12% marketing rebate ay idinisenyong dumaan sa Clarissa's company kahit walang malinaw na marketing service na kapalit. Ang kaniyang kumpanya ay isinailalim sa food safety at financial review. Hindi ito isinara agad. Ngunit nawala ang malalaking contracts na inaasahan niyang makukuha mula sa Casa Aurelia at Montenegro hotels. Ang mas mahalagang pagbabago ay ang pagbabalik ng mga local supplier. Personal na binisita ni Lena ang Batangas Vegetable Cooperative, Benguet Mushroom Farm, Cavite Seafood Families, Quezon Coconut Growers, at Davao Cacao Cooperative. Hindi niya ipinadala lamang ang legal notice na nananatili ang kanilang kontrata. Hinarap niya ang mga taong muntik mawalan ng kabuhayan dahil sa manipulated reports. Sa Benguet, tinanong siya ng isang magsasaka, "Ma'am, paano po namin malalaman na hindi na ulit kami aalisin kapag may bagong executive?" Lina answered honestly, "You cannot rely only on my promise." Nagulat ang mga supplier. She continued, "That is why supplier protection will now be written into the governance process." Ipinakilala ng Casa Aurelia ang long-term partner review system. Hindi na maaaring alisin ang isang supplier batay sa report ng isang procurement director lamang. Kailangan na ngayon ng kitchen performance record, independent price comparison, quality history, conflict of interest declaration, at supplier response bago ang termination. Ang mga local farms ay binigyan din ng access sa direct reporting line kung may humihingi ng kickback, secret rebate o personal payment sa Montenegro Prestige Holdings. Natapos ang board investigation pagkalipas ng 6 na buwan. Permanenteng tinanggal si Damian Cruz bilang CFO. Ang kanyang advisory vehicle, Shell Consultants at related party payments, ay ipinasa sa external investigators at regulators. Napatunayang sadyang inilagay niya ang pinakamahalagang ownership risk sa annexes habang ang executive summaries ay gumagamit ng malalabong salitang strategic control, operational integration, commercial consolidation, at future ratification. Hindi niya direktang sinabing pag-aari ng Montenegro Prestige ang Casa Aurelia. Ngunit inayos niya ang mga dokumento upang iyon ang paniwalaan ni Sebastian at ng investors. Sa final hearing, sinabi ni Damian, "Mr. Montenegro had access to every document." Marina Velasco answered, "Access does not excuse an executive who deliberately summarizes a transaction in a misleading way." He signed, "Yes." Then he accepted responsibility. He carries responsibility for signing. You carry responsibility for designing a structure that concealed your own fee and the true beneficiaries. Damian remained silent. Vanessa Soriano lost every official position in Montenegro Prestige. Walang bisa ang creative director appointment, 6 million peso image fee, brand beneficiary rights, at proposed equity option sa intermediate holding company. Ang birthday event na dapat sana'y magpakilala sa kaniya bilang bagong babae sa likod ng Casa Aurelia ay naging pangunahing ebidensya ng related party spending. Sa huling pagkikita nila ni Sebastian, wala ng photographers, investors o eleganteng VIP room. Nasa maliit na law office lamang sila kasama ang kani-kanilang abogado. "You let Lena turn everyone against me," sabi ni Vanessa. Sebastian looked tired. "You wrote that I would take responsibility while your family kept the profit." That was a private message written during negotiations. It described the actual structure. You wanted Casa Aurelia. I wanted it under Montenegro Prestige. And you were willing to take it from your wife. That does not give you the right to take it from me. Vanessa leaned back. That is the part you still do not understand. What? You only recognized the theft when you became the person being used. He did not answer. She removed the expensive bracelet he had given her and placed it on the table. You wanted the woman who would stand beside your title. And you wanted a man whose signature could open the door. Maybe we deserve each other. No, sabi ni Sebastian. Lena did not deserve either of us. That was the last honest thing they said to each other. Walang reconciliation. Vanessa continued working in media. Ngunit ang bawat luxury brand that approached her reviewed the Casa Aurelia investigation first. She could still appear in photographs. But no title on a place card could restore the authority she had tried to claim. Sa final Montenegro board hearing, kinilala ang tunay na ambag ni Sebastian. Siya ang nagpalawak sa hotel group. Siya ang nagdala ng Casa Aurelia catering sa international clients. Siya ang nakipagnegosasyon sa investors at nagbukas ng mga bagong property. Ngunit kinilala rin ang kanyang mga paglabag. Hindi niya idineklara ang relasyon kay Vanessa. Ginamit niya ang corporate budget sa event na may personal benefit. Pinirmahan niya ang acquisition framework ng walang owner approval. Hindi niya binasa ang beneficial ownership annexes at sadyang iniwasang humingi ng pahintulot kay Lena dahil alam niyang maaaring tumanggi ito. Sinabi niya sa board, "I was deceived by Damian and Vanessa." Marina nodded. "You were. I did not know they intended to reduce Montenegro prestige to a management partner." "That is true." "Then why am I being removed permanently?" "Because before they plan to remove your company, you plan to bypass the owner of Casa Aurelia. I believe the integration was good for both companies. You believe public pressure would make refusal impossible." Sebastian looked down. "I wanted control. And leadership without consent becomes exploitation." The board voted. Sebastian was permanently removed as CEO and executive chairman. Nananatili sa kaniya ang legal shares at personal wealth na tunay niyang nakuha. Hindi kinuha ni Lena ang kanyang hotels. Hindi rin niya ginamit ang Casa Aurelia contracts upang sadyang pabagsakin ang Montenegro prestige. Legitimate hotel catering bookings were honored during transition. Employees were protected. Existing guests were served. Ngunit natapos ang exclusive partnership. Hindi na maaaring gamitin ng Montenegro prestige ang Casa Aurelia name sa mga bagong hotel project nang walang independent licensing review. The relationship between the companies would continue only where lawful and commercially fair. Hindi na ito nakasalalay sa kasal ni Lena at Sebastian. Ang huling personal na usapan nila ay nangyari sa Aurelia Room. Walang waiter. Walang board. Walang Vanessa. Nasa pagitan nila ang divorce settlement, ownership acknowledgement at final commercial separation agreement. Sebastian looked toward Chef Aurelia's portrait. "I remember when your mother opened the first restaurant. She liked you then. She said I was ambitious. She also warned me that ambition must know which door it has permission to open." He smiled sadly. "I did not listen." "No. Did you bring me here to humiliate me?" "I brought you here because this is where you tried to remove me." He looked toward the head chair. "Do you want me to sit somewhere else?" "You may sit wherever you want. This is a legal meeting, not a performance." He chose the chair across from her. "Will you take my shares?" "At independent market value. The trust will purchase the non-controlling interest held by Montenegro Prestige if its board approves. And my personal assets, they remain yours. You could ask for more. I want what is lawful. You always say that. Because revenge is not governance." He looked at the divorce papers. "Can you forgive me? One day, perhaps. Can we remain married after that? No? Why not? Because forgiveness does not restore trust automatically. I made one terrible decision. You made many decisions. I believe Casa Aurelia needed me. It benefited from your network. I thought that meant I had earned part of it. You had a lawful 5% interest. That felt small. Because you compared it to my control. I wanted to stand at the head of the table. You already had your own table at Montenegro Prestige. It was not enough. That is why no amount of ownership would have been enough." He signed the settlement. Then he looked again at Chef Aurelia's portrait. I once told you Casa Aurelia would always be your home. Yes. And then I ordered you out. In front of our daughter. His face tightened. I will regret that for the rest of my life. You should apologize to Sophia without asking her to comfort you. I will. Do not tell her you did it because you were confused. What should I say? That you chose pride over respect. He nodded slowly. Before leaving, Sebastian stopped at the door. Am I banned from this restaurant? No. After everything, any customer who follows the rules may enter. What about Aurelia room? You may reserve it like everyone else. Will you approve it? If the event respects the room and the staff. He looked almost surprised. You are not going to do to me what I did to you. No. Why? Because then I would prove that ownership is only another weapon. She opened the door. My mother built this place to serve people, not to give me a better way to punish them. Isang taon matapos ang gabing pinilit si Lena na umalis. Muling binuksan ang Casa Aurelia Manila matapos ang renovation. Hindi binago ang pangalan ng Aurelia Room. Hindi rin ito ginawang mas marangya. Ibinalik ang original wooden table mula sa unang restaurant. Ang handwritten recipe notebook ni Chef Aurelia at photographs ng staff mula sa iba't ibang panahon. Sa kabilang bahagi ng building, nagbukas ang Aurelia Culinary Fellowship. Ang programa ay nagbigay ng libreng training sa hospitality workers, scholarships para sa young cooks, legal and financial education para sa small food suppliers, at mentoring para sa women-led restaurant businesses. Si Mateo ang naging Chief Operating Steward ng Heritage Location. Si Chef Tomas ang namuno sa Supplier and Menu Council. Si Isa ang nangasiwa sa Guest Integrity Program. At si Sofia, tuwing weekend, ay tumutulong mamigay ng kalamansi custard sa fellowship students. Sa reopening event, maraming reporter ang nagtanong kay Lena tungkol sa dating asawa. Madam Lena, tanong ng isang journalist, would you remove Mr. Montenegro from the restaurant if he came here today? No. Even after he ordered security to remove you. Every guest who follows the rules receives service. Even him. Even him. Then why does he no longer have executive access to the VIP room? Lena looked toward Isa, Mateo and the service team standing nearby. Because hospitality is offered to guests. Authority is entrusted only to people who respect it. Did you keep Aurelia room to prove you won? No. Then why protect it so strongly? Because Sebastian saw only an expensive room. She turned toward her mother's portrait. I saw my mother's name, the work of our employees, and a promise that no one would be made small so another person could feel important. Did being called Madam Owner change everything? No. What changed everything? The records. The employees who preserved them, and the decision to stop being silent. The reporter continued. What is the greatest lesson from what happened? Lena looked toward the restaurant entrance, where Isa was welcoming guests in the same respectful manner regardless of their clothing. Never wait for an ownership certificate before deciding someone deserves respect. At that moment, Sophia ran toward her. Mom, the first fellowship students are ready. Lena took her daughter's hand. Together, they entered the Aurelia room. Sa head table, walang card na may salitang VIP. Ang mga pangalan ay para sa farmers, chefs, servers, scholars, at long-time employees. Mateo opened the door for them. Madam Owner, everyone is waiting. Lena smiled. No, Mateo. She looked around at the people who had protected the restaurant when executives tried to sell its name. Tonight, No one is waiting for the owner. She walked inside with Sofia. We are waiting for everyone who helped keep the doors open. Sa labas ng silid, nanatsili ang original inscription ni Chef Aurelia. No guest becomes important by making another person feel small. Dati, ginamit ni Sebastian ang pinto ng Aurelia room upang ipakita kung sino ang maaari niyang paalisin. Ngayon, binuksan iyon ni Lena upang ipakita kung sino ang dapat tanggapin. Hindi bilang asawang nagnanais patunayang natalo ang kanyang asawa. Hindi bilang mayamang babae na gustong bawiin ang pinakamagandang mesa. Kundi bilang may-ari na nauunawaang ang tunay na halaga ng isang restaurant ay hindi nasusukat sa taong nakaupo sa VIP room. Nasusukat ito sa paraan ng pagbukas ng pinto para sa lahat.